Hello and welcome into this week's edition of The Pole Position right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Pole Position, we have a lot to talk about today. We are getting back into full swing for basically every major racing series out there, and the ones that haven't started this week are probably starting next week. So we're getting back into full swing with everything now that we are well into March. We've got NASCAR Cup and NASCAR Xfinity to talk about today, ARCA, IndyCar, World of Outlaws, and Formula E all on the docket today that happened this past weekend. So let's dive right into it. We're going to start with the NASCAR stuff. And we're going to start with the Xfinity Series, the IK9 Service Dog 200, Saturday from the ISM Raceway in Avondale, Arizona. Usually we would have a rewind show of this where you could get more in-depth recap of this, but we do not have one this week for the Xfinity Series since we were in Pensacola covering the ARCA race. It did not fit into the schedule to do an Xfinity rewind this week, so usually there would be an Xfinity Rewind linked down below in the description. There is not this week. But nonetheless, Kyle Busch takes the victory in the IK9 Service Dog 200, leading 116 of the 200 laps. His 198th career win across the top three series of NASCAR. Just an absolutely incredible streak that Kyle Busch has gone on, and 94 of those actually have come now in the Xfinity Series. Ryan Truex gives the 8 car for Junior Motorsports its best run thus far this season in second in the MTJ Foundation Catwalk for a Cause Chevy. Tyler Reddick, another strong finish, finishing in third. Cole Custer and Austin Cindric were the rest of your top 5. And rounding out your top 10, we had Chase Briscoe, Brandon Jones, Michael Annett, John Hunter Nemechek, and yet another top 10 run to start the season for Ryan Sieg. A fantastic run for that 39 car. Alright, so let's end off the weekend's NASCAR activities from Phoenix with the Ticket Guardian 500, which ran yesterday, Sunday afternoon. From the ISM Raceway, Kyle Busch takes the victory in that one. Now 199 wins across NASCAR's top 3 series, 52 of those in the Cup Series. Martin Truex Jr., his teammate, was catching him at the end, just didn't quite have enough time to reel him in. Not sure he had enough fuel to do it either, but we can speculate what would have happened if they'd had another 5 laps. He was reeling him in very quickly. Ryan Blaney, who had probably the second fastest car on the day for most of the race, came home in third. Eric Almirola in fourth, and Denny Hamlin rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Chip Ganassi Racing teammates Kyle Larson, Kurt Busch 6th and 7th, Jimmy Johnson, his best run in a while, in 8th, Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano in the 10th position. Alright, so for your final stock car race of the weekend, it was the ARCA Menards Series from Pensacola, Florida at Five Flags Speedway. And if you want a more in-depth recap of either the Cup race or the ARCA race, like I said, we'd usually have one of the Xfinity Series as well, but it just did not fit into the schedule this weekend. If you want one of the Cup race or the ARCA race, though, if you want more than just the top 10 and a quick recap, it's linked down below in the description. We've got lots more that we cover in those rewind shows than what we do here in Pole Position, where we just quickly catch you up on everything that happened over the weekend. So for the ARCA race, Michael Self picks up his first win of the season. I think he was shocked that he had won on a short track, which he's never historically been very good on short tracks in ARCA. And I know in our post-race interview, he was even joking around with me that he had actually won on a short track. He's like, did I really win on a short track? That's not supposed to happen in ARCA, not for me. But Michael Self did take home the victory, his first of the season, making up for the lap 3 incident that happened in Daytona that put him well back in the points chase early on in the season. Ty Gibbs, in his first career ARCA start, comes home in second, and he's another one that I think if he'd had another 10 laps, we might be talking about Ty Gibbs winning in his first career start. An unbelievable run by Ty Gibbs, especially at the end of the race. Venturini teammates to Michael Self, Christian Eckes and Chandler Smith, 3rd and 4th. Both of them fell off really hard in the middle of the race and then bounced back very well for top 5 finishes at the end of the race. Corey Heim, also in his first career start, came home with a top 5 finish in 5th. The rest of your top 10 were Brett Holmes, Connor O'Kresick, Raphael Lessard, Caden Honeycutt, and Travis Braden. All right, so that ends off the stock car stuff for the weekend. Now let's shift gears to open wheel stuff, and we'll move to IndyCar's season opener. They were in St. Petersburg, Florida, on the streets of St. Petersburg this weekend for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, 110 laps around that 1.8-mile street course. Joseph Newgarden starts off the season with a victory in his number 2 Team Penske Chevy, leading 60 laps on the day on the way to this victory. Scott Dixon came home in 2nd, and Will Power rounded out the podium, leading 17 laps on the day. Felix Rosenquist, the Chip Ganassi Racing rookie who led 31 laps on the day and might have possibly been in contention for the win at the end, had some pit strategy not messed that up. Comes home with a 4th place finish in his first IndyCar race, and Alexander Rossi rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were James Hinchcliffe, Simon Pagenaud, Colton Herta, Santino Ferrucchi, and Jack Harvey. All right, so that will do it for the first race of the IndyCar season. Now let's head to Formula E. They were in Hong Kong this weekend for the Hong Kong E-Prix. Eduardo Mortara wins after Sam Bird got a time penalty at the end of the race for contact he had in the late laps with Andre Lothier, who they were battling for the lead at the end. Lothier ends up with a flat tire. The stewards had ruled that as avoidable contact, so Bird got a time penalty. Bird actually had crossed the line first and had initially been declared the winner until the stewards handed out this penalty, which gave the win to Mortara. Lucas deGrassi and Robin Freins also on the podium. Daniel Abt and Felipe Massa rounded out the top 5. Sam Bird, after his time penalty, slots in 6th. Mitch Evans 7th. Gary Paffett in 8th. Oliver Turvey 9th. And Antonio Felix da Costa rounded out your top 10. All right, that is the results for the Hong Kong E-Prix. One race left for the weekend, and that was the World of Outlaws. They were in action from Thunderbowl Raceway in Tulare, California. And the 35-lap NOS Energy Drink feature. After a brief rain delay during the heat races, Ian Madsen led the feature wire to wire to score his first win of the season and his first ever at Thunderbowl Speedway. Darren Pittman hunted Madsen down at the end, but had to settle for second for his second race in a row while preserving his championship points lead. Sheldon Haudenschild completed the podium in this race. And I think that's all we got for you from this weekend. Lots of action going on this weekend, and we got more coming up next weekend. Of course, NASCAR's back in action, Cup and Xfinity from California. Trucks have the weekend off. ARCA has the weekend off. F1 and IMSA do come back next weekend, though. IMSA, of course, their second race of the season from Sebring. F1, first race of the season from the Australian Grand Prix. So we've got a decent amount of stuff to talk about next weekend as well. So be sure to come back to pole position next Monday, and we will talk about all that. I believe World of Outlaws is in action next weekend as well, aren't they? Yes, they are. They have 2 races, one from Silver Dollar Speedway and one from Stockton next weekend as well. So we've got World of Outlaws to talk for you next weekend as well. So we've got all kinds of stuff next week for pole position. So definitely be sure to come back next week, 8 p.m. Monday, as we are every week, to make sure you get caught up on everything that happened over the weekend. Like I said, if you want more in-depth recaps of anything that happened this weekend, stock car related, except for the Xfinity race. We've already discussed why we don't have an Xfinity rewind for this weekend, but we do have Cup and ARCA, which are linked down below in the description. We have lots of post-race interviews from the ARCA race. If you want to know what any of the top 5 thought after the ARCA race, those are linked down below as well. But I think that'll do it for us. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. And while you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. But I believe that'll do it for this week's pole position, where you always start on the front row. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.